Hey folks, today we're going to be taking a look at Injustice 2, the sequel to the previous Injustice made by NetherRealm Studios. We're going to see what improvements they've made and if the game is worth your money. Is it good, is it bad, or is it something in between? Let's go ahead and take a look at it. Injustice 2 brings a lot of new features to the Injustice series, but is it enough to keep the game really fresh and fun? If you played the first game, this is going to be a lot of that. It has some improvements and a little bit more depth to it, but still, ultimately, it's still a fighting game, and you're just going to get more of that. So if you have played Injustice, Mortal Kombat, and didn't really enjoy that, I don't believe this is really going to change your experience too much. The graphics of Injustice 2 are a big step up from Injustice 1, but they're not anything really to write home about. There are little improvements, but in the overall picture, it's just not exciting to me. They don't really make any big leaps forward, but take baby steps in improvement. Special effects of the characters and facial expressions are something that does stand out, but there's still me wanting something more with the visuals. The story only takes place in one dimension this time around, and in my opinion is really intriguing, and that's going to be the main point if you're not looking at the competitive side of this game. The story of Injustice 2 takes place right after the events of the original Injustice, with most of the metahumans part of the regime imprisoned and Batman trying to rebuild the major cities. Just like the original story, it's told in a pretty cinematic way, with one character you play for around 3 to 4 rounds, and then after that you play a different character. The story itself is pretty fleshed out and it's very detailed, and like I said, it's really the main reason I played the game. The story can be beaten in around 5 to 6 hours, even shorter if you do skip all the cutscenes, so it's not an extensively long game. It is a fighting game, of course, so that's what you're gonna get with it. Even if you haven't played the first Injustice, you don't necessarily need to. You won't get some of the references in this one if you haven't played the previous game, but it's still, in my opinion, worth playing through. And like I said, I really enjoyed the story, especially as a big fan of comic books. Now, the bread and butter of Injustice, the fights, feel fluid and a lot faster than original. There's less time walking around and more time actually fighting, and a big change is the use of your burn meter. So there's a lot more depth. You can do an air break, you can do a clash. So for the in-depth players, there's really a lot there for you. Now, most of us casual players won't be using these features, but if you get to learn them, they're pretty rewarding and you can pull off some pretty sick combos when you do use them. With the burn meter, you can also use the full meter to pull off super moves, which are of course outrageous and just really cool to look at. I'm not a fighting game expert at all, but for the most part the characters seem balanced, and fighting is fun, especially when you're playing as some of your favorite DC characters. Some characters though still have moves from the previous game. That's a little bit disappointing. I wish there was a little bit more change in that, but hey, what are you gonna do? All in all, the combat is different enough from the previous game to still feel fresh and well worth playing. NetherRealm has also put a lot more RPG elements into the game with a leveling system and equipment system. Leveling is as simple as playing the character you want to level. By simply playing, you unlock mother boxes that you'll be getting most of your equipment from. The equipment serve to change the look of your character, as well as give you stat bonuses that you can use in the multiverse games. The single player options are expanded in the aforementioned multiverse and is a very welcome addition to Injustice. It's much like the towers in Mortal Kombat. The multiverse has different planets that will change out every so often with different objectives where you can earn those mother boxes and get new equipment and things like that. The addition of mother boxes brings in microtransactions, and personally for the mother boxes themselves, I didn't feel like I needed to buy any of them. You get rewarded with the mother boxes fairly easily. The one thing I do notice is that the source crystals, the crystals you would use to level up your character to 20 automatically, those are extremely difficult to come by. You need 10,000 of them to level up a character to level 20, and I got my first 10,000 at around level 43 or so, and as you level, it gets more and more difficult. At some point, I'm feeling like I'm gonna have to buy those to level up all the characters I want to level 20. My game did crash around 4 times, and it's really annoying. It was both in the story mode and multiplayer modes. It just completely crashed my Xbox. Hopefully that does get fixed later on. Just really more of an annoyance than anything. Ultimately, Injustice 2 is a great upgrade to the original game, although at full price, it can be debatable. There's a lot more content in this game than other fighting games, I feel. So you have the multiverse, single player is going to be fleshed out. Really, the only issues I'm having right now is that the more I play it, the more skilled I need to be. And like I said, I'm not that skilled at all, so it's becoming harder and harder for me to play the game and enjoy it. But at least I played it for a good 20 hours so, and I've enjoyed throughout the whole 20 hours, but it's getting kind of difficult to where I can't really progress anymore. Still, for that $60 price, I don't know if I can recommend it. Maybe wait for it to go on sale and get it then when the price is a little bit lower. The game itself, though, it's really fun. Like I said, the story is something you should play, especially if you're a comic book fan. You're gonna enjoy it. The game still does feel fresh from the previous game, and the experience for me was at least pretty enjoyable. And that ends my look at Injustice 2 here. What do you guys think of the game? If you guys have any advice for me, this is kind of one of my first videos, so put a comment down below, tell me what I can improve on, what I can do. Any feedback is welcome. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you can, support me, subscribe.